What if I told you there's a drug out there that can make a full plate look strangely unimportant? Quiet the voice in your head that says, eat, and slow your stomach enough that one normal meal can feel like it stayed too long. You feel less hungry, less interested, less driven. And for some people, that feels like freedom. But inside your body, this is not passive. It is a biochemical takeover. And here's the darker question. When that signal fades, what comes back? Does your appetite return gently, or does your old biology hit like a wave you forgot was out there? This is a science breakdown, not medical advice or instruction. Tap subscribe to the channel for more such interesting videos. Ozempic is the brand name for semaglutide, a once-weekly injection first used for type 2 diabetes and now widely discussed because of its effect on body weight. It belongs to a class called GLP-1 receptor agonists. That sounds technical, but the core idea is simple. Your body already makes GLP-1 after eating. It helps control blood sugar, slows stomach emptying, and tells the brain that enough food has arrived. Semaglutide does not invent a new pathway. It takes an existing one and pushes it harder, longer, and more consistently. Phase 1. The first signal shift after the dose. This is the first important correction to the myth. Ozempic is not an instant appetite off switch. The biology is not a dramatic on-off button in 20 minutes. It is more like a rising signal that starts nudging your system, then builds. But even before you notice the full effect, the mechanism is already in motion. GLP-1 signaling pushes your pancreas to release insulin when glucose is elevated, and it reduces glucagon, the hormone that tells the liver to release more glucose. That matters because Ozempic is not just about appetite. It is also about glucose control, meal by meal, signal by signal. So ask yourself this. If a drug can change how your body handles food before your conscious mind even catches up, are you still just eating less? Or are you already inside a different metabolic state? Phase 2. The gut hijack, the first days to early weeks. This is where people start describing something more physical, not just less hunger, less room, less momentum. Meals seem to linger. A portion that used to disappear now feels like too much halfway through. That is not imagination. Semaglutide delays gastric emptying. Food leaves the stomach more slowly. The result can be extended fullness and a much lower drive to keep eating. And this is where the experience can turn from fascinating to uncomfortable. Because the same mechanism that helps reduce intake can also cause nausea, bloating, abdominal discomfort, vomiting, constipation, or diarrhea. In plain English, the stomach is not simply behaving the way it used to. It is being slowed, and some bodies do not enjoy that slowdown at all. Imagine eating what used to be an ordinary lunch, then hours later, still feeling like it is sitting there, heavy and unfinished. For some people, that is the whole point. For others, that is the moment they realize this drug is not just trimming appetite, it is changing the physical tempo of digestion. That is the first dark truth here. The benefit and the burden come from the same place. Phase 3. The brain quiets down, days to weeks. Now the story moves out of the gut and into the brain. GLP-1 receptor agonists do not act only in the stomach or pancreas. They also affect the central nervous system, including regions involved in satiation, satiety, and responses to food cues. This is why so many people use the same phrase. The food noise got quieter. That phrase is informal, but the biology behind it is real enough to take seriously. Food is not only fuel. In the brain, food is also anticipation, reward, attention, habit, memory, cue, relief, celebration, and routine. Semaglutide seems to blunt some of that constant pull. You do not just feel full sooner, you may think about food less. Cravings can lose intensity. The urge to keep grazing can weaken, and that creates a strange internal split. The kitchen is still there. The snacks are still there. Your old habits are still waiting, but the signal they use to trigger is softer. You look at the same food and get less of the old response. Not everyone experiences it the same way. Some notice strong appetite suppression, some mainly notice smaller meals, some feel more nausea than silence. That variation matters, but the core pattern is consistent. The gut sends a different message, and the brain starts treating food differently. If you've heard people say the food noise disappeared, do you think that sounds more like a stomach effect, a brain effect, or both? Tell me in the comments. Phase 4. The metabolic trade-off, weeks to months. This is where hype often outruns science, so let's slow down and be exact. Ozempic does not magically melt fat through some secret chemical shortcut that ignores calories, physiology, and body composition. What is better supported is this. Semaglutide lowers calorie intake, appetite tends to drop, and over time, body weight often falls. And when body weight falls, it is usually more fat mass than lean mass, but not only fat mass. That is the counterintuitive twist. People hear weight loss and imagine the body neatly burning off stored fat while everything else stays protected. Biology is messier than that. When energy intake drops, the body draws from available stores. Fat mass usually falls more, but the scale is not a pure fat meter. Your body is solving an energy problem, not reading a fitness goal. Now add the glucose effect back into the picture. Semaglutide increases insulin secretion and lowers glucagon when glucose is elevated. That improves blood sugar control, especially after meals. So you have 3 systems moving together: slower stomach emptying, reduced appetite, and better glucose handling. That is why this drug can feel so powerful. It is not one lever, it is multiple levers pulling in the same direction. And that power changes behavior fast. Portions shrink, snacking can drop, late night eating may become less interesting, the brain says enough sooner, the gut keeps the meal around longer, blood sugar moves differently after you eat. But here is the hidden cost in thriller terms. A body that is easier to undereat on is not the same thing as a body that has solved the deeper biology of weight regulation forever. Phase 5. The new normal. That isn't really normal. Ongoing treatment. This is the phase where the drug can start to feel almost eerie. The old appetite rhythm is muted. The constant negotiation with food gets easier. The refrigerator loses some of its power. People who spent years feeling ambushed by hunger may suddenly feel calm around food. That calm is real. But it is not neutral. It is drug-supported physiology. Common side effects can still show up here, especially around dose escalation. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain, constipation. Some people adapt and symptoms ease, others struggle. Some stop treatment because the gastrointestinal effects are too unpleasant. And while semaglutide has meaningful benefits, it also comes with important medical warnings and precautions, which is exactly why this should never be treated like cosmetic candy or a casual internet trend. So the real question becomes sharper. Are you watching your biology improve? Or are you watching it being managed by an external signal that only works while it is there? That is not fear-mongering. That is the medically honest frame. Phase 6. After stopping, weeks to months after discontinuation. Now we get to the part people are most afraid to ask about. What happens when you stop? Not in 3 to 6 hours, not in one dramatic afternoon. The real story is slower and more important. When semaglutide is withdrawn, many people regain weight over time. That does not prove the body was permanently damaged. It does not prove the brain was irreversibly rewired. Those claims go too far. But it does prove something still unsettling. The biology driving appetite and weight was not gone. It was being held down. And when that pressure lifts, old forces can re-emerge. Hunger signals intensify. Fullness may feel less durable. Food cues can become louder again. The mental quiet some people felt on treatment may fade. The same environment that once pushed overeating. Easy calories, constant cues, stress, habit, reward, has been waiting the whole time. That is the rebound cliffhanger. And it is not fiction. It is one of the clearest facts in this whole story. So no, the most accurate medical version is not Ozempic fixes hunger forever. And no, the most accurate version is not it destroys your body. The truth is sharper than either extreme. Semaglutide can be highly effective while you are on it. But obesity and appetite biology are chronic, adaptive, and persistent. Stop the signal, and the underlying system often pushes back. That may be the darkest part of the whole story. The drug can make food feel less powerful, but it does not erase the world your body still lives in. It does not delete stress, cues, habits, reward pathways, or the biology that defends weight. It suppresses them. It manages them. It can meaningfully help, but it does not turn human metabolism into a blank slate. So what is Ozempic really doing inside your body? It is slowing stomach emptying. It is changing appetite signaling. It is affecting brain responses to food. It is improving glucose control by increasing insulin and lowering glucagon when glucose is elevated. It is lowering calorie intake. It is often lowering body weight, with more loss from fat mass than lean mass. And when treatment stops, weight regain is common. That is not magic. That is not myth. That is a gut-brain drug powerful enough to change how hunger feels, how eating feels, and how control feels. And maybe that is why this topic grips people so hard. Because Ozempic is not just a story about weight. It is a story about how much of you is chemistry, how much of appetite is circuitry, and how terrifying it is to realize that one weekly injection can make the voice in your body go quiet. And then, one day, let it come roaring back.